The following is a presentation of the Eagles Sports Network.
Hi again, everybody, and welcome in. This is the Eagles Sports Network. Michael Watchering. We're pleased to be joined today by Carson-Newman baseball coach Tom Griffin, trying to get a lowdown on how everything is going during this coronavirus outbreak. Coach, thanks for stopping by. I'm sure the question that everybody's been asking these days, and everybody would like to know the answer to, is how are you? How's your family, and how's everything going during this time?
Well, it's good to see you, Michael. And fortunately for my family here and my wife's family and my family in Jersey and friends have had no one that has contracted the virus. Everyone's been healthy, so we've been very blessed in that aspect, that's for sure.
That's good to hear. One of the questions that, I think that a lot of people have thought about as well is when was the first time maybe you got an inclination that your 2020 season was in jeopardy?
When the NBA canceled. When the NBA came out and canceled their season, I think we all collectively knew, players and coaches, that it was going to trickle down. We knew that was a matter of time. Just didn't know how long it would take. I think some of us were hoping we could get till the end of April, but as serious as it was spreading and the way it was affecting certain areas, we knew it was a matter of time.
Let's go through that, because I think it was March 11th. You had a game at Alabama-Huntsville, and then I believe that was the night where everything happened in the NBA. And then on that Thursday afternoon, you were getting ready for a series against Virginia Wise, and nothing had truly been decided earlier that day. And then everything kind of turned on its head later that afternoon, and decisions had to be made. What was the conversation like with the coaching staff and then as the team when the decision came down from the NCAA that, hey, this season probably going to be postponed for a long period of time, if not canceled at that point?
Well, like everyone, it was difficult. It's emotional. It's kind of like the last game you play in the regular season or in the conference tournament when it's all over. There's a lot of emotion, especially for those guys that their career is over. But it probably a little more painful, the fact that you didn't get to finish it. You got a guy like Malik Kyle who had missed a portion of the beginning of the season with an injury and was just coming back, and then this happens. So you're dealing with the emotional aspect. So we met with players down here and, to officially say it was over. And when we realized the school was going to be, that the students were going to be heading back, this was the last time we were going to be together. And we felt like this was it, that we weren't going to come back. So then, the hugs, the well wishes, realizing this is the last time that this group would ever be together like this. And, we met early that morning, and they didn't leave for about an hour. I mean, they just stood around, and it was that finalization. And I think there's some pain for a couple days, but then the resiliency of people and kids, they realize this is what it is. And what do you do now? I mean, you can't control the past. This is what's going on. It's how we react to it. And I think, our guys got back to understanding now there's schoolwork that has to be finished. And for the seniors that were not coming back, it was, okay, what's my next step? As far as jobs go, and if I already have a job, how am I getting prepared for that? So I think it's, as a student athlete, you're prepared for adversity. And that's what we try to prepare kids as teachers every day, is be prepared for adversity. And how are we going to handle it? And mostly, are we going to put our trust in who we should be? And that's God, because it's his hand in what's going on, and trusting that what he has for our future is trusting that, bottom line.
I think that's a good message. And I guess when you look at all of the seniors, and it's not just athletes. I think that it goes across the board that aren't getting chances to go through the commencement, to go through that final period of time where their family comes in and you get the opportunity to say your goodbyes in a formal manner. What is your message to that senior class of yours? What is your message to the seniors around the school of, I know that this is not the way that you envisioned it, but how do you make the most of what, is your final periods of time as a Carson-Newman athlete and student?
Well, it's a great question that there's probably not one answer for. We were even talking with some of the recruits that we have coming in, some of those seniors who, kids from Georgia had played a portion of the season. Some guys didn't even get started, and it stopped for them. And so that senior year, and for the kids that have not signed with anyone and looking to play, they're scrambling around wondering, now what do I do? How do I find the college to go play college baseball, because it's over and there's a dead period. I can't even talk with anyone as far as visiting the school or them coming to see me. So a lot of stress on not only the students and the student athletes, but the families, because they didn't get closure, some of these parents, to, the mom and dads to walk out with their kid on senior day and recognize the fact of all the time and energy everyone put into this young career, that they didn't even get to walk across the stage, so to say. And so there's a lot of people affected, grandparents. And so everyone is kind of in the same boat. And it's just like a rain out, for a game. We can sit there and be ticked off that Mother Nature rained on this game that we wanted to play, but the sun will come up again. And we have a thing, and the saying we use on a bracelet is, "This too shall pass." And this too shall pass. Now, the period of time is a lot longer than one game being rained out. This is like a monsoon. This is like a storm that won't go away, and we can't get outside to play, and we're stuck inside. But I also think it helps you to create a lot of creativity for you as a student athlete and for you as a student to do things you may never have done before. You find things you never would have found before because of this situation. I think that's a God thing that says, hey, maybe we needed to slow down as a society. Maybe this thing's going too fast for everyone. I needed to slow it down and give everyone some peace and some quiet and some me time to reflect. Because I think we get so caught up as the season goes, it gets over and you're like, where'd it go? We got time to reflect right now. We're all on sabbaticals. We all have a chance to dive into things we've never dived into before. We've got chances to connect with people that we may never have connected with before because of this time. So there is a lot of positives outside the tragedies and some of the situations we're seeing, not only with health, but the economic. There are some positives that are happening that I hope we take from this when this is done.
Yeah, I think everybody believes that. And, looking at your senior class, we would have had that conversation last week about that group, what you saw from them, what you remember about them. But you look at that senior class, you had some transfers. Mike Roth, Hunter Long came in, Cam Blowbaum came in, Nick Adkins, who felt like his career was over before he got to Carson-Newman. And then Mark Treadway and Malik Kyle are stories that, I think will stick with me for a long time, because they were red shirts. They were upstairs next to us running the scoreboard and doing, some of that work that maybe they were never going to get an opportunity. Well, both of them were starters by their senior season and playing critical roles for you. What's your biggest takeaway from that group, and what do you remember most about this year's senior class?
Well, I think like most of Michael, I think the playing part you don't really you reflect on a little bit. If a guy's an All-American or a guy was drafted, obviously some of those things stick out. But you really look at the guy day to day and the type of person he was on a day-to-day basis, whether it's on the field and his work ethic and his ability to serve his teammates and be a good teammate. It's him in the classroom and the fact that he took care of his business and he strived to be really good in the classroom and did well. It's the fact that in the community, when people came across them, they would say, what a really fine young man, what a mature, what a polite young man that person is. That's the part that we truly remember about these guys. The work ethic, coming in when no one else is here to get extra rep in. Hearing their teammates when I talk with the team about certain individuals, and they mention these guys as leaving not only a good legacy, but day to day, leaving the mark of what we consider to be a Carson-Newman baseball player, and believing in those standards, believing in that culture. And that's the reason we have success as coaches in developing people, is because these young men believe in it and they live it. Otherwise, it wouldn't be what we're looking for. And it's not me. It's not me that's doing that. That's these guys as far as their parents and their families, what they've learned in the past from other coaches. It's the university and the standards that are set here by the university, the ethics that are set. And then as a baseball program, we're a spoke in that wheel that, again, sets some standards of this is what we need to be like. And these guys have to live it. If they don't, it doesn't work. And so that's why I'm so thankful for the relationships we've had with these guys. It's a lot of time spent, Michael, as you know. It's not just on the field for practice for 2 hours. It's in the cage. It's hanging out up here in the office. It's pulling them aside to talk about another situation on the team. And there's so many things in depth with these guys. And I know for a fact that wherever they go, whatever relationship they're in, whatever job they have, they will represent their God first in a great manner, their family and this university. I have no doubt they will do a phenomenal job with that.
Let's talk about how you're trying to stay in touch with all these guys. Obviously they leave campus and, they're no longer there. How are you trying to stay in contact with your team? Not only the guys that will for sure return, but also some of those seniors and your coaching staff and everybody like that.
Well, Zoom, if there was stock in this thing, I wish I could foresee what that was all about, because we're all doing Zoom. And so on Saturdays, we do a Zoom call with all our players, and then, texting them throughout the week, just some reminders. If you see an article, I sent something out yesterday. There was a young lady from University of Indiana, softball player, who had her own home workout for infield play. And it was really cool. So we sent that out to our guys. The workouts that we've sent them, the conditioning programs that they can do within their confinement. We have stuff for them that they can do. We can't monitor it, self-monitoring, but I think we have some leaders on the team that are staying in touch with each other in small group meetings, group chats, that are motivating each other to stay active, keep the mind, body, and soul, keep it moving. So I think there's been good connection and correspondence about what's going on, and it's all just, each day, have a plan it out, take care of the three things we've talked about, the mind, body, and soul, and then we'll wake up the next day and go at it again until we hear something different.
Tomorrow would have been the start of the South Atlantic Conference baseball tournament. Obviously, you would have liked to have not played tomorrow. You would have liked to have played on Friday and be one of those top four teams. But let's lighten the mood a little bit. What are some of your fond memories of playing in the SAC baseball championships? Not just maybe with this senior class or the time that it's been at Smoky Stadium, but in the time that you've been at Carson-Newman. Obviously, 07 sticks out. But what are some of your favorite memories of SAC tournament baseball?
Yeah, 07 was pretty special, no question about that, man. I'll never forget that. Even when I get dementia and can't remember my own name, I will remember that thing. It's where everyone gets together. You got the big thing about it is you got the other team, your peers are watching you play as a player. the game that's playing at night, they're there watching that morning game. And so your peers are in the stands watching. That turns it up just a little bit about whether you perform or whether you get a little tight. Mm-hmm. You can't get that anywhere else. You don't get that in the regular season. But when you look up in the stands and you see, let's say Catawba, their players are there. They're watching you right there. I mean, there's one thing to have family and adults watch. There's something else when your peers watch because you want to show off in front of them and you want to look good in front of them. So I think that's what makes it special. And I think having it at Smokies Park for us, has been really special because of the proximity and being really in our backyard and the venue that we know so well and feel comfortable with. So that's been fantastic for us as a program. But it's surely missed. I miss more than anything. I miss the training. I miss the day-to-day training. I miss the early BP on the field. I miss the team defense and putting together a practice plan, a training plan where we can see if we're going to get better. I want to see if we can challenge them. How do they handle the chaos and the challenge? I miss that more than I miss the games. I love the training aspect. The game is for the players. The training is for the coaches. So I miss that, and I know our coaches miss that as well.
Yeah, it makes complete sense. When you look at how everything is shaking out, the NCAA has had some conversations about granting waivers for members of that senior group, especially in the spring, to potentially get an extra year of eligibility next season. Granted, there's all sorts of conversations that you guys would have to have as coaches in terms of scholarship money and how to allocate roster positions and guys that you've recruited from high schools and stuff like that. How do you think in general this situation will impact college sports, college baseball for not just next season, but for years to come? Because we were talking before we got on here, you're looking at recruiting high school seniors, and sometimes some of those high school seniors go from 84, 85 to 91, 92 by their senior year, and nobody gets a chance to see them because they only played maybe 2 or 3 games this season. But how have things been impacted for years to come by this situation for you?
Great question. The pool of players increased tenfold. With everyone getting their year back, it created a huge domino effect in a lot of ways. And there's good situations for it, and there's some situations where some programs are struggling with. Financially, can you cover the seniors' money coming back? Are you going to, handle that, or do you have to count that towards your scholarship limit? And every school is going to be different about that, I would assume. And do you have to take some money away somewhere? Do you have freshmen that thought for the last 2 years, I'm going to this school? Well, now that kid I thought was going to graduate that had an open spot, it's not open anymore. He's back. So do I want to go somewhere where I can play right away, which I thought I was going to do or had a chance to do, a better chance? Or do I need to go find another school? If I'm a junior college player, do I go back to the junior college? Or do I go to that school where, that returning third baseman is coming back, the senior third baseman's coming back? How about the kids that thought they were going to get drafted and that draft gets cut down to 10 rounds? Now they're actually going to go to those schools. And there's a lot of programs with draft guys that are counting on them to get drafted and to go. They're not actually thinking they can get them on campus. Well, they're coming on campus now. So the scholarships, you got to figure out what's going to happen. And that's why that portal has exploded so much with kids' names being on there. So, it's tough. The hardest thing to have done in this situation, without doubt, public relation-wise, was to say this season's ended, seniors, it's unfortunate, but that's the way it is. I would never have made that call because I didn't want to. If I was a senior, I couldn't handle that. But what's going to happen here probably will create more issues, and economically for schools, is going to create some major issues for how to handle these scholarship situations. And then, again, the pool of kids and the amount of schools that have baseball, I don't know if it's going to overload. 35 limit in Division I, that better increase. It is going to increase this year. Obviously, it can for all the seniors that are coming back. But other programs, you're going to have to increase that roster size because there's a lot of kids looking for places to play.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting to see how all that shakes out and see if, what happens with the Major League Baseball draft. Doesn't feel like it's going to be 40 rounds like it has been the last several years. We kind of hit on it in terms of your seniors not getting a chance to play those final games, but I'm sure you had some of those seniors were hopeful to have a professional career at some point along the line. How difficult is it now for those kids, be it, linking on with a major league organization, be it, finding an independent league team? How difficult is it now to not have that extra year, those extra few games to pad the resume, to have that opportunity to take that next step and continue their baseball career?
Yeah, extremely difficult. Fortunately, some of our guys that, like Mark Treadway got his master's, Malik Kyle, these guys already have jobs. Malik already had a job already set up with Pilot Organization. That's what kind of young man he is. He got that job offered to him in January, I believe. I mean, he's sharp. Same thing with Treadway. Sharp guy and already has been hired, so they're working. Cam Blowbaum, same situation, had a job waiting for him. Before our season even got ended, they already had jobs waiting for him, really good jobs. So for those guys, the transition becomes a little smoother, I think, ready to move on. Some of the other guys that have to finish school that are coming back, this is what's good about the rule of allowing them to come back, because now they can finish their degree. And if they have scholarship money, which they do, that helps to cover that extra year that they thought they'd have to cover themselves. Nick Atkins, I think, had some interest with professional teams. Right now, you can get videos out to the scouts that they can look at. They got to see him. A lot of guys got to see him early because we played 25 games versus Division I that got less games in. So people had him on his radar. I think there's some interest and opportunities, maybe as a free agent. But like you said, there's also the independent ball, if that gets kicked back up, of the option for him to do that as well. If nothing was to happen, the option to come back is there for him. But we're hoping that he gets picked up either by an MLB affiliate or a independent ball team.
Not just the guys that you currently have on your roster, but you've done a great job over the last few years of getting guys prepared for that spot. You got a whole host of guys getting ready for minor league seasons, or were getting ready for minor league seasons. Of course, Steve Cishek was getting ready for his first season in Chicago with the White Sox for a team that expected to battle for a playoff spot. How have you been in contact with those guys, and what have those guys been doing to try to get prepared, be it at their house or wherever it may be, trying to get loose whenever they do get the call that the season's going to start?
Yeah, I saw Stevie plays catch in his backyard into a net that he bought. I thought he'd have something more elaborate, but he's old school. He just needs a net to throw in. So he's doing that in his backyard and staying in shape. And down there in Florida, Brett Langhorne and Gardner, listen, they're workaholics. They're getting their work in. Brett's getting swings in the cage down there where he's staying in Chattanooga. Will Gardner, again, these guys are getting work in. That's not an issue for them to be in shape when they call everyone back. And they'll probably have 2 weeks before they're going to start their season. So they all know from their clubs that they got to keep their arms in, because they're going to have a short period of time to get it going. That was, I think, the key is the mentality that you have with these guys. They're there for a reason, and they're there not only for their talents, but they're there for their willpower and their mindset about how to go about their business. That's why these guys are playing professional baseball.
Well, Coach, thank you so much for the time. This has been a blast to catch up, talk a little bit. I know people are looking forward to hearing an update on your program. Thanks for your time. Stay safe, and hopefully we'll see you in person soon.
Yeah, I look forward to, Michael. Thank you. It's great to see you, and you take care of yourself.
Carson-Newman baseball coach Tom Griffin. Hope everybody stays safe. We'll talk to you again soon.